Hi, my name is Ankisha Singh, and so I want to start off with a question. So how many of you have gone on your phone while being in the presence of another, all to just look at social media, text somebody else, check if you got a new Instagram follower, or honestly just get out of talking in person? Yeah, pretty outstanding number. Or better yet, here's another question. How many of you actually have your phones in your hand at this very moment? Yeah, it's a pretty big number. So this increased necessity for people to have personal communication devices, such as mobiles and laptops, which we can visually see here, actually enables people to go days or even months without actually coming face to face with each other. And unfortunately, when people do eventually come face to face with each other, usually the conversations that they engage in just aren't real and actually lack true substance and conversational material. Now, this issue most directly affects the teenagers of our society, as we are the most impressionable. And if the teenagers of today cannot learn to effectively communicate with their peers, our society will face many obstacles in the near future, because the teenagers of today are the future of tomorrow. And although, yes, because of technology, communication is faster and easier than ever before, it is true, however, that teenagers are engaging in less face-to-face conduct, and this has a lot of negative impacts, more than we think. And so if teenagers, as dramatic as this sounds, do not get out of the dark holes that they've created by their devices, then it will be very hard for them to succeed in their future social and professional lives. Now, Common Sense Media is a nonprofit organization that conducts safe media and technology use, and they actually conducted a survey in 2012 about teenagers' communication preferences. And in 2012, we can see that 82% of the teenagers actually preferred conducting their communication face-to-face and in person. Now, cut to 6 years later, Common Sense Media conducted the same survey in September of 2018, and they now found that most teenagers prefer to communicate via texting and online communication methods. So we can see that within just 6 years that the way teenagers communicate has drastically changed, and it's not all for the better. Within public spaces and schools now, it's very common to now see most teenagers staring at their devices rather than actually talking to the person next to them. Kids used to go outside and play, and now it's the most rarest thing ever to see a kid outside playing basketball or riding their bike. Teenagers now resort to house party and FaceTime to communicate with their friends and classmates. Now, the truth is, however, that the society does not run online. In-person conduct and communication is very essential, or oral communication skills and being able to talk in person is something that is required in every single workforce. And so if teenagers are not able to learn these skills, it shows at how we are becoming socially and professionally inept. So now that I've kind of established that there is a change in the way teenagers communicate, I want to go into those effects, more specifically the negative effects that we're seeing among teenagers. And the first major negative effect that I want to talk about is the decline in conversational skills. So not only has the preference of face-to-face communication decreased among teenagers, but the quality of the conversations that we are engaging in are also deteriorating. Paul Bardwell is a writer for The Atlantic magazine and also a teacher in Kentucky, and he assigned his students a project to create a podcast so that he would be able to assess their ability to hold a conversation and speak about educational issues in real time. And while he watched his students create their projects, he actually stated, and the quote is up here, that even with plenty of practice, the task proved daunting to students. I watched trial runs of their podcast frequently fall silent. Unless a student facilitator asked a question, most kids were unable to converse effectively. Some even reached for their phones, an automatic impulse, the last thing that they should be doing. So what we're seeing here is that teenagers are increasingly finding it harder to conduct normal in-person conversations. The problem is not just that we are conducting less in-person conversations, but the problem is also that we physically can't and are unable to. However, the truth is that job interviews are not conducted through social media. They are conducted in person. Raises and promotions are given to those who excel in collaborating, presenting, and quickly thinking on their feet, which are traits possessed by those who can effectively communicate in person. So, if teenagers are not able to learn how to effectively communicate in person, it, for obvious reasons, not only affects their social lives, but also affects their future professional lives as well. Now, the next major effect of this issue that I saw while I was researching is that there is this creation of a societal disconnect. Now, when we're conversing through social media platforms and online, compassion, solicitude, and any feelings of care and giving does not come through when we are, texting or when we are just messaging somebody. And these societal standards such as eye contact, body language, and all these mannerisms that really do matter also don't come through when we're conversing with someone just through online realms. But it is important, however, that we do learn how to engage and have these empathic social skills, because they really do affect someone's personal relationships and their future professional ones as well. And Lucas Lengature is actually a student who conducted research on this, and he saw that as Facebook usage increases, the understanding and acknowledgement of empathic social skills decreases. But as Facebook usage decreases, the understanding and acknowledgement of social skills increases. And by empathic social skills, we really mean eye contact, active listening, and the acknowledgement of social cues, which are really important, and they make one feel heard and listened to. And if we look at this survey, this is a survey that was conducted by a business magazine, and they surveyed a bunch of employers across the nation about what are some key things that they want to see from their new hires. As you can see, the first thing is the first effect that I talked about, oral communication. The main thing that employers want from their hires are oral communication skills. And that's one of the major things that teenagers actually lack today. And then a major empathic skill they actually like to see is listening skills. So a lot of employers today want listening skills to be within their employees. But again, that's something that teenagers lack today. So the top two things that employers want are something that the future employees lack. Now the next major effect that I want to talk about this issue is how teenagers are straining their own personal relationships. When you're conversing with someone through social media or online platforms, it's really hard to kind of make a bond with somebody and form that connection. In order to actually form a connection and strong bond with somebody, you need to be able to be comfortable in their presence and be comfortable around their surroundings. And obviously, in order for that to happen, you have to actually be in their presence. When you're conversing with someone just through messages, any intimacy nor empathy can come through, and that's really important for a relationship to form. And again, this also corresponds with our professional relationships as well, because we all know that collaboration within the workplace is key. If one is not able to collaborate and work with their peers and form that professional relationship, it's going to be really hard for them to succeed in their job, and this goes for any job in any workplace. And if we look back, or if we look at this same survey, we can see that the third thing, or the top third thing that employers want to see from their hires is adaptability. And that goes hand in hand with this ability to form professional relationships. And we're seeing that it's increasingly harder for teenagers to form those relationships. And now the last major effect that I want to talk about is mental health. We all know that the teenagers' mental health is deteriorating over the years, and a portion of why it could be, or the reasoning of why mental health could be deteriorating within teenagers, can actually be due to this change in the way they're communicating. It has been proven that social media platforms such as Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all lead to increased feelings of depression, anxiety, poor body image, and loneliness. And a major reason why is because a lot of people, especially teenagers, become very vulnerable on these platforms. They put their entire lives out there, and unfortunately a lot of people take advantage of that. And that leads to a lot of people becoming very self-conscious. Also, it's very easy for teenagers to compare their lives to others on these platforms. Teenagers, as is, compare their lives to others. The social media platforms make it even easier, because we all know that people only really post the good things about that's happening in their lives. So teenagers go on social media, they see that their classmates are getting great summer internships, or going to great colleges, or going on a great vacation, and they start to question their own lives and start to compare themselves to other people their own age. And that again leads to feelings of low self-esteem and resentment, and honestly some feelings of jealousy, and that negatively impacts one's mental health severely. Whereas when one communicates in person, of course those feelings can come in based on the words that you're saying, but it's not just the sole action of meeting somebody that can facilitate those feelings. However, the sole action of communicating in online communication realms actually can cause those feelings. When two people meet face to face, they both made an effort to spend time with each other. They both made an effort to come and see each other. And that gives the satisfaction to both people that they are not alone and that they wanted to be with each other, or at least made the effort to see each other. So as I conclude, I want to ask you guys if during my presentation any of you felt the need to check your phone to check the time, check any text messages, or see if you got a new Instagram follower. And I'm sure a majority of us all did, but that is the issue. Now imagine if you were in a job interview and while being asked a question, this thought came into your mind to check your phone and you decided to check out the new Snapchat filters while being in the job interview. That wouldn't end well for you. And as dramatic and unfortunate as this sounds, that's honestly the future of what the teenagers of our society looks like. We are so used to constantly being hidden behind our devices and anonymously expressing our ideas that when the time comes to actually put ourselves out there and speak in person, we're going to shy away and we're not going to do so successfully. And again, this affects all of society. If teenagers of today cannot learn to effectively communicate with their peers in person, then the physical, mental, social, and economic health of our society will deteriorate. Because the teenagers of today are the employers of tomorrow. And the employers are the ones that control the workforce and the workplace. And if that is crumbling, then all of society will crumble. So I really hope that from my TED Talk today, we could all take away something, whether it be for yourself or for your kids. And I really hope that we can come together to try to reverse this negative toll that the decline in face-to-face communication is having on our lives. Thank you.